Okay, so I can't lie, your guys' determination scares me, honestly. Even though you were like 2 likes away, I'm so nice that I still decided to cover the Dark Descent. This is absolutely not because I already had this video planned. So, like we said last time, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a game that came out all the way back in September 2010. Holy shit, that 15 years ago! Back then it got its little moment on YouTube similar to games like FNAF or Slender the 8 Pages, but I never looked into it. I know, I'm meant to be a horror creator or whatever and I haven't touched a classic, blah blah blah. I'm here to fix that today. This time the game seems to take place in London inside a castle, which really contrasts with the suffocating bunker areas of, well, the bunker. This time instead of being stuck in a claustrophobic area, I felt like a small little ant blindfolded in a big ass area. Not sure which one is scarier. By the way, what's up with Amnesia in Europe? Last time it was France, now it's London. Is there something going on that I'm unaware of? This time around we are playing as Daniel, who wakes up randomly in this castle, and that's all you know at the beginning of the game, pretty much. From then on, you're immediately tasked to follow petals on the ground through one of Daniel's mementos, which will be the way to know your objectives throughout all the game. Eventually, I get to the old archives, which is how you know that this game is old, because you get a loading screen which traversing each and every area. But this will actually come in handy sometimes. Also, guys, quick note, I know I went over all the areas of the bunker in my last video since there were like only 4, but the Dark Descent has 29. So obviously, please don't get mad at me if I ever really go into surface for certain of the least interesting areas. Immediately after entering the old archives, I'm introduced to the sanity mechanic of this game, which makes it so witnessing weird shit, being in the dark, or looking at enemies for too long will drain it and then make it harder to progress. Though being in the light or completing puzzles will help it come back slowly but surely. And while on the subject of light, let me introduce you to the lantern, your best friend throughout the whole game. There's a reason all the screenshots of this game have it in plain sight. This little lantern will help you not lose your damn marbles, since Amnesia has a reputation of being a games where you don't really see shit. Though you need to find oil to recharge it, which is found in rare quantities, but when the game wants to be nice, they have oil barrels to fully fill it. But if your lantern is out, you can't find oils, and there's no barrels near, do not fret, for your other best friend this game is tinker boxes. These are found in much larger quantities and are used to light other light sources like torches on the walls, chandeliers, candles, and anything that looks to be a potential light source. There are of course healing items of various kinds, but I won't be touching on those too much here. And unlike the bunker, these items are always in the exact same area, so no need to worry on that part. After eventually solving a quick puzzle, I make it into a library-like area with multiple rooms containing information I did not understand, and when I was ready to leave, I faced with the first real monster of the game. Okay, well, no, not really. I didn't face it. I just walked out immediately after. The next interesting thing to happen is when I managed to craft an acid to get rid of the thing blocking my access to the wine cellar. When entering, I saw another monster walk past and then never saw it again in this area. Again. I don't know if I'm just the luckiest man on earth, but like, I'm not gonna complain about it. Though I really do want to mention something so dang funny that happened here. I heard someone breaking down the door I was in, so I turned off my lantern, hid in the closest corner, and picked up a note to pause the game.
25th of June.
Rate my cat-like reflexes out of 10, you guys. All that just for it to have been an hallucination of some kind. Thanks, Amnesia. Eventually, I reached the cellar archives where I get chased by an invisible kraken or something in the water, but I somehow managed to get out of here in one piece, which, like, holy shit, how? Sitting here rewatching my gameplay, wondering how I even did that. After all that, you reach the Black Hall, which is a very central part of the game containing multiple other areas. Here you can find the storage, guest room, machine room, and study, as well as an elevator we'll touch on later. The area I want to talk about the most here is the storage. Literally, as soon as you enter and head into a room, you will be met with this. Shout out to the don't look at enemies too long message, like, what else am I supposed to do here? But I think this is a good time to start touching on the enemies of the game, or at least one of them. These ones in particular are named the servant grunts. They can't speak at all other than grunts and similar things due to their apparent lack of a lower jaw and like basically everything else related to a mouth at this point. But they will start chasing after you if they see or even hear you. And if you get too close, they'll claw at you. They're also covered in surgical stitches for reasons, with a few ropes and leather straps to seemingly make sure their skin doesn't fall off from what it looks like to me. You can usually hear a grunt as a signal that they're in the area, and they usually roam aimlessly until it finds or hear you. You can also easily hide from them because these guys are blind. And a quick little note, I will simply be calling these grunts moving on. In a storage storage, your objective is to find and assemble a drill to use in one of the barrels to obtain a piece of an explosive to blow up a mountain of rubble and a path still in the storage that was causing the unnatural darkness down here in the first place. Also, real quick, peep this insane dodge I got against this grunt. I'm crazy. Once you're out of the storage and you finally power the elevator's engine, you can finally head down with the elevator that crashes midway. I told y'all last time you can't have a break in these games. After all that, you fall into a dungeon-like area, and long story short, there's acid in the kitchen. You find a pot, put acid in it, and melt the lock of a door to move forward. After all that, you enter the cistern, where you make a vaccine inside the morgue to then have access to the sewers. Because otherwise, you start fucking dying and coughing. I don't know what that's about. And this is a perfect time to talk about the game's second enemy, the servant brutes, who I will now call brutes. They're rarer than the grunts and are a lot more dangerous. For example, they always one-shot me when I encountered them for no reason. They announce themselves in similar ways to the grunts with a sound cue that's slightly different. They're faster and deal more damage, like I said, but I actually didn't encounter them as much. The next time is in the sewers, where one of them is doing rounds around an area. It's very easy to distract him and move forward, and you eventually find a grunt's dead body. Still no clue what that's about. You eventually go up a ladder to access the next area, where you meet Agrippa. Okay, so he's obviously not having the best time, but he helps you out and tells you what to do to stop Alexander, the guy who's been talking to us the whole time in flashbacks. Uh-oh, did I forget to mention that? Agrippa tasks you with finding both pieces of an orb scattered around in torture rooms. Guys, I promise I'll explain the lore soon. But also to find ingredients of some kind for a potion that we can use to cut off his head. Okay, moving on. I have no words anymore. The first three of those rooms don't have anything out of the ordinary, but it's when you head into the second area that it gets a little more interesting. You basically can barely see anything here, even with your lantern. That, mind you, was out of oil completely in my playthrough, so I didn't see shit. And there is a brute lurking around the area as you try to reach the torture rooms as fast as possible. And you can also find one of the ingredients for the potion here. After all that is done, you've made the potion and got Agrippa's head. You can head forward to assemble the orb and stop Alexander. He captures you in a cell and a shadow chases after you too, but like that's minor details really. I eventually reach the area where his ritual is taking place and place Agrippa's head like he asked me to do when it's time. And I then get a really confusing ending, but one that at least seems to be good for Daniel in a way. There are two other ones where you simply don't stop the ritual, in which Daniel dies or something, and one where you make the pillars for the ritual fall, which kills Alexander, and he then leaves the castle as far as I can tell. So now that we've went over the events of the game and lightly touched on the gameplay, what the fuck is going on in here? Full credits to Gaming Harry for this section, as all my lore related information comes from his video. Really shortened version, but basically past Daniel gave himself amnesia and explains to present Daniel in the first diary you find that he needs to kill Alexander and that a shadow is following / chasing him because of an orb he found in Algeria and brought back with him. The shadow is the guardian of said orb, and it is also represented by the weird red shit that you see everywhere. Eventually, Alexander contacted him and said he could help get rid of the shadow for Daniel through a kind of energy that feeds on people's suffering and fear. Though Alexander obviously wanted to use that and the orb to travel to another dimension altogether. Turns out that Agrippa is the soul of a man trapped by Alexander and a body we see him as in the game. Basically, Alexander came from the dimension he's trying to reach and basically really just wants to go home. Most of the flashbacks seen when collecting the pieces of the orb are actually flashbacks to the victim that both Alexander and Daniel tortured. I'm starting to see why he gave himself amnesia, I think. And as far as I am able to tell, the grunts and brutes are Alexander's servants who were also summoned from another dimension and put in humans' bodies, which ended up corrupting said bodies into what you see in the game. Though I'm honestly not 100% sure. And that's as far as I'm going to go lore-wise, since I really didn't play for the lore in the first place. So, what did I think? It was definitely okay, honestly maybe great even. Okay, listen, y'all gotta come for me, but there are a few things I genuinely dislike that come purely from the game's age. I think the biggest and most important one is that I just wasn't scared anymore like halfway through the game. This is very well come from the fact I had to play the game for this video, but in actuality I think it's due to the fact the recipe is constantly the same, if that makes sense. It's a very simple recipe most of the time. Do puzzles for a bit, you hear a monster in the distance, hide, run out, and repeat. This is absolutely not necessarily a bad recipe at all. Hell, I know of a few indie horror games who do this even today, but it just isn't effective on me at all anymore. I would actually like to cite Resident Evil 7 as a game that still scares me today for having a good recipe that actually works on me. Maybe even Area 8 if you squint. The game is never the same at all, shit is constantly happening and it's all different. The best comparison is definitely the segments with Jack though, since you're basically unarmed most of the time when you face him. But long story short, Amnesia constantly repeating its events and main recipe is not necessarily a problem, but just one that doesn't appeal to me at all. Also, the puzzles are just not linear at all, which is again just a personal issue. But even Daniel's mementos he writes to guide you in your objectives doesn't help as much. The darkness and the storage feels unnatural. Okay, cool, that doesn't tell me anything. Like sure, it angles me in the right direction, but it's a very different way to do so compared to the bunker that felt a lot more linear in its puzzles to me. Something this game does incredibly well though is its monster designs. Like bro, look at the grunts. I'm scared. They dabble into body horror while not making it the sole thing about it, which is amazing to me. And if you see a grunt nowadays, you just know it's from Amnesia. And overall, the art direction is still very amazing and has barely aged. Actually, the game itself looks ever so slightly old, but I wouldn't think it's from 2010 if I didn't look it up beforehand. Another super quick little thing that I really enjoyed is the sound design as usual and the general ambience. Amnesia is always very good at that, but I feel like it was really more in this one. I remember vividly after a very long session that I had where I would keep hearing a certain sound in my head and I thought I was legitimately losing my goddamn marbles. So to finish my small little rambling session, I'd give The Dark Descent a good 8 out of 10, while The Bunker maybe a 9. And with that, that was my thoughts and experience with The Dark Descent. Thank you all so much for watching, and feel free to let me know what you personally think down below. I know The Dark Descent is some people's favorite horror game of all time, so I would really be interested in hearing about that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.